All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. So today we're going to talk about coaches. And we did this, I don't know, about a year ago, handling coaches, conflict resolution. But it seems to be a topic that we all struggle with, at least at times. And I think it's important to talk about or show scenarios that we can talk about how to handle without going straight to a technical foul, right? I mean, sometimes that's what's warranted. But if we can work around it, calm them down so we don't get to that level, I think that's always best for the game. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up my first video. Clearly the coach is upset, as we can see. The official seems unbothered. All right, did we all see what happened there? I'm going to go back here.
I was not looking in that corner.
All right, so down in the lower left, I'm going to play it through here. I don't know what he's yelling at, but the bucket scored. He asked for a timeout, obviously, and then decides to start yelling. This was a COVID year. Watch. He takes his mask off so he can make sure that he can hear him yell at him. Pretty animated. All right. The official here, I think, I don't know what he's saying, but he, again, is not bothered by it. He's getting, you want a full or a 30? What do you want? I'm not going to listen to you yell at me. All right. I'm just going to report the timeout. All right. He goes into his bench. And the official starts to walk away to his spot. And it looks as though he starts yelling at him again. The partner decides to come in and assess a warning to the coach. The official bench warning. All right, after hearing that final yell, let's go back real quick here. The center is the one who gave the warning. If you see through this whole scenario, the center is kind of taking notice as to what's going on here. At least looking in there. All right, so when it goes back, he's attuned to it. And he decides to take the warning. Now, my question to you all is, before I give you my 2 cents, what do you think about your partner coming in and giving a warning when the coach was yelling directly at you?
I don't like it.
Wasn't the referee walking away toward the upper right-hand side?
Right. So,
and he might not have seen it or heard it.
Right. So the let me go back to the video. So the official is taking it, right? Again, doesn't seem fazed by what's going on. And after report starts to walk away. I don't know what the coach yelled. I don't think it's irrelevant, but the point is he made his little rant and then decides to yell pretty much across the floor. I'm torn.
It might have been an assistant coach.
I'm torn on what happens here, because if it were me as the official who's getting the timeout, I can handle myself with a coach. I'm not afraid to take care of this coach if I think he needs to be taken care of. I don't need my partner to come in and babysit me, so to speak, right? However, on the other side of the coin, I'm walking away and he decides to yell at me some more.
Mm-hmm.
I like the fact that your partner is there to stick up for you.
I agree, Josh. You're working as a crew. Your crewmate picks you up
when your back is turned.
Now,
Well,
Josh, I might also say, we don't know what happened before this. If you look at the score, it's 33-17 now. He might have gotten an informal warning by that point.
Well, and that's a good point. And I was going to say, I don't know what has been going on up to this point. This coach could be just yelling and screaming all game, and all the officials have had it. Maybe they were yelling at that official prior to that, and he has had it. Maybe that's a weaker official who he's yelling at, who's kind of afraid. And we know that the game has been going on, and I see I'm going to have to maybe help that official out. And I come in and I exert my authority to help the crew. Maybe we're all equals. Maybe I know that's a strong official and they don't need that. But sometimes it's almost nicer to have your partner come across and handle a situation than for you to have to address it, because maybe it's a me against him all game, right? And now, see, I knew you didn't like me and you have it out for me. And no, my partner comes in, then my partner handles it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Maybe the coach also said something that other people didn't hear, that referee who gave him the warning heard, an F-bomb or something. I don't know.
It could very well have been some comment that was made that couldn't be ignored, that maybe my partner didn't hear as he was turning away and he's already tuned him out.
Right.
I don't know about you all, but I can tune a coach out. And yes, I hear the noise, but I'm not really paying attention. I don't know what he's saying. Maybe he said something and then the partner felt like to come in. So my point of that video kind of is, we are a crew. I don't know who said that. We do need to back up each other and know that my partner can or can't, or that comment can or can't be ignored or must be addressed. We need to be able to step in when we have to step in. So I thought that was good.
Well, Josh, the way I look at it is that you're sending a message to the coach that we are a crew and we're not going to take it. And I'll bet you when that ref was walking away, he didn't hear it. I don't see anything wrong with it. I really don't, because to me, it's sending a point saying, look at, we're a crew. We're three guys right here. And I'm not going to let you badmouth my guy when he's walking away in your comments. To me, I don't see anything wrong with it. That's my opinion.
Well, I think overall, more often than not, it is okay for your partner to come in and handle a situation like that, even if it was a technical foul. Maybe something was said that deserved a technical foul. So my point is, it's okay to do it, but no, if you have a strong official and they say, let me handle my own stuff, know when to and when not to. If that makes sense.
Does it make sense for him to go over and tell him why he gave the warning? Maybe the guy didn't see it like you said.
You mean the two officials?
The other official, I'm sorry.
Maybe
Yeah,
in
the
the
team.
locker room, but not on the court.
And Josh, you're talking about if he's a strong official, he can take it. Half the time, you don't know the partners really well who you're roughing with. It could be your first time. You don't know if this guy's a good, a strong and handle himself. Sometimes you're not sure about that because you don't have the same, unless you're in a crew, you're not seeing the same guys as partners all the time.
Well,
So-
that might be true. However, as officials, I didn't see where this was in the game. I didn't look. We have to be aware of how our officials are calling. We all have a sense of our partner is weak, our partner is strong, our partner is mild-mannered, our partner is outspoken, right? And about, I would say, a quarter, you can get a good feel as to where your partner gauges in that. But it also, again, could be a situation where that's a state final official, right? They can handle their own stuff, but the coach is riding them over and over and over. And sometimes that's just the way it is. And when it's direct, sometimes, again, you've got to come in to help alleviate that, because nobody wants to be labeled as the guy, right? Who's coming after them or whatever it may be. All right, let's move on. Oh, here's a good one.
Ball is out of bounds. Ball belongs to the Raiders.
I have to laugh. I don't know if you can hear the video. He just got all upset. He's trying to get the call changed, goes to the partner. The original partner's not hearing it. I'm going to play it again, and then appeals to the other partner because he thought we got the call wrong. All right, comes this way. Official has it out of bounds, signals the direction, says something to the coach here. Like it, goes to the other coach. The other official's like, I don't know. I can't change it. Oh, come on. All right. Well, here's a little insight as to what happened here. Let's watch this play. He throws it. I'm going to pause it right here. What is the coach doing?
On the court.
He's on the court.
He's on the court. No, I'm not suggesting, oh, he's on the court, technical foul. I'm not suggesting that, although it could be, right? If he interferes, he comes on the court, he interferes, he's out of his coach's box. But the ball gets thrown right at him. And he's like, whoa, I got to get out of the way. And the official makes a call. All right. So he initially says, oh, yeah, great call. He claps his hand. He's like, oh, wait, what? You pointed that way? So that's when he appeals to the official. Okay. Like, no, that's not right. The ball got tipped. It was tipped. The official says, and I put it here, how could I possibly see that it was tipped? How could I see that? You're standing in my way on the court. Now he didn't like that answer, and he goes to the partner to try and get it changed, right? And in his defense, if your partner has a clear view and knows what happened, he's not going to go because the coach appeals to him, but he can go and to the partner and say, hey, that ball was tipped off of black, or that's fine. But if a coach is going to come on the way and get in the way, and now the official can't see, I'm not going to tee him up. I'm not going to, give him a bench warning. I'm not going to go that far, but I am going to be very blunt with the coach and say, you were in the way. It's your fault that you didn't get that call. If you stayed off the court, we wouldn't have that problem. In so many words. What do you guys think?
I agree.
I tend to, sometimes it gets me in trouble. I tend to be more blunt with coaches. If they come at me strong, I go back at them strong. I don't use cuss words or swearing or anything like that. Someone said once, this was back in the day before all video was around. If a coach swears at me, I believe that gives me license to swear back at them, right? I don't believe in that, but the same kind of method works where if you're going to yell at me, I'm going to yell at you. I'm not going to yell and scream and look like a lunatic, but I'm not going to be Mr. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. No, you want to yell at me? We're adults here. I'm going to stand my ground. If a coach is going to come at you, and you have to know your strengths and your weaknesses. If you don't have the strength to be able to, butt heads nicely, I don't know, can you say it that way? Butt heads nicely? Then try to avoid that because you don't want to escalate a situation. But if you know you can bluntly and directly butt heads with a coach who's trying to butt heads with you and keep it at a level, I think that's okay. I think that's almost not expected, but you're going to come at me, I'm going to come at you. And then as long as we can both part ways and say we're done, then I think you're okay. Any comments?
Josh, you raised another interesting point before. You said that if a coach comes to you or gets into an argument and is using some cuss words, that maybe in the past, it was sort of a belief that you can curse back at him. Okay. Is there any rule against, I would hope so. Is there any rule against us cussing?
Well, we're not allowed to be unsportsmanlike, just like the coach. I mean, by rule, if the coach uses a cuss word at you that you believe is profane language, you can assess them a technical foul just for that.
Right.
If he, throws the F-bomb at you, that's not something you can probably ignore and then say, let's butt heads. You're going to probably want to address that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm sure with video and audio now, if we were to curse back at the coach, it's going to be replayed somewhere on the internet, on the state, or something,
Most
correct?
definitely you will become a a viral sensation. I don't
Yeah.
suggest you cuss back at a coach at all, especially even if you think it's not being recorded, or if it's someone's recording.
Thank you.
All right.
Result number 1, umpire 2, in the second.
All right. A few things before I play it slow here. A few things I want to point out. The coach that we're watching is the coach of the red team. Well, they're wearing black on the court, but they're all wearing the red on the benches. Okay. So he's standing by the table wearing all black
On the court.
on the court, which, all right, you know, there's a side note since you said that, Ken. Why on earth in a gym like this, when there's all that room behind them, are they putting the table and the chairs so close to the sideline? That makes no sense to me. Why don't they just move everything back 4 feet? It's unbelievable to me, but that's a side note. Okay. So we've got to play a block, and then it looks like something happens here, which the coach doesn't like, right? So now he starts yelling in the official's ear, who runs away because he has to. He's got to officiate. All right. Now watch a coach now, just as it's going around. It's like, oh, he hit him on the arm. He hit him on the arm. He's still complaining. There's nobody around to even hear him say anything. Then we have a foul that the official calls, and he's already, before the official even reports, he's already trying to point out the inconsistency of officiating. All right. Now, this is my game. That was me who's holding the ball now, just in all disclosure. And that coach was not nice to the whole crew, but seemed as though he was keying in on me, which is fine. I get it. That's fine. I can handle my own stuff. But this, I believe, is the 4th quarter. And I don't know for a fact, but I'm pretty sure it's the 4th quarter. I've had it. I'm not going to listen to the coach anymore. I've made the decision that I'm not going to tee him up. The game was, for the most part, decided, and I just wasn't going to give him the satisfaction. I thought that's what he wanted, so I wasn't going to do it. But I couldn't just let him yell at me either. So we get a little bit of a hold or a push or something here. They're both going for the ball. It doesn't look like anything really happens. Maybe he pushed him a little. He thought that was a foul, and he proceeded to tell me that that's a foul, right? Continues to yell. I'm not listening because I don't care what he has to say at this point. He's already proven he's not coaching. He just wants to officiate. Then we've got a very easy call right there, right? 2 hands. He comes at him toward his opponent, puts his hands out, pushes him a little. Easy call, right?
Yep.
Okay, so we go to report, and as I said, he's already, before the reporting even happens, talking about how it's inconsistent. It's not a foul there, and then it's a foul over here, and it's the same contact. How can you not call that? Like, I don't know what he's saying. He's just continually mouthing and mouthing, mouthing. And then he says, oh, what, now you're not going to talk to me? You can explain to me what happened? So I literally turned him and said, no, I'm not going to listen to you tell me that you think that I got it wrong. So he's doing all game. Right? So I'm okay, right? You got it wrong. So then I should say, get in your box. And he didn't. So I said again, get in your box. And he kind of, don't. Okay. Now this is what I'm talking about as far as you want to yell at me. Fine. I'm going to yell at you. I'm not saying it's right. I probably could have handled things in a different way, but we have all had coaches that just don't stop. And I had discussed with my crew, we were all talking about it. He was all riding us a little bit, but we discussed with the crew, and you know what? We probably should have given him a technical foul early in the 3rd. And that probably would have squashed it and handled it. And we made a series of decisions that didn't lead to that. And then by that point, it was almost like if we give it to you now, he's going to say, see, you've been gunning for me all game, and see, you don't like me, and you just want us to lose, and whatever they come up with. So then we decided not to do it. But if you can tee a coach up early on that deserves it because he's an incessant complainer, that sometimes squashes it, or maybe just a bench warning, an official bench warning. What do you guys think?
On a side note, on that back to that bench area that you pointed out, I've done that with game management. I've told them to move the chairs back because I found that if I don't do that, I got a player's feet that's going to trip me, or I'm gonna run that coach over.
That's actually a great point. Don't be afraid to move them back. We didn't really realize it until after, and then
Right.
there's some situation, you're like, what's going on here? If you see that they're so close and they have lots of room, have them move their chairs back. I think that's okay. You don't necessarily have to move the table back, although that would be nice. I know a lot of tables are harder to move and they're plugged in, but the benches, when all the chairs are there, just have them all scoot them back. I think that's okay. That's a great point.
Same thing with the cheerleaders. If cheerleaders are in the way, move them back.
Cheerleaders are a whole different.
Yeah.
problem. Yeah, if they're in your way, it's in your authority to move things out of your way, because it's ultimately about safety of not just you on the court, but safety of the players as well. It all can interfere with them.
This whole scenario was so ironic because Tom and I, who's on the call here too, had a game about 3 weeks ago, and there was one coach who just wouldn't stop. He just wouldn't shut his mouth. And finally, Tom told him enough, and then he kept going, and Tom warned him, literally gave him a formal warning. And then he was like, and Tom walked away, and then he's like, what, same deal, Josh. You're not going to talk to me now? It's like, wait, we got a game to play here. And he wanted an explanation on why he warned him. And yet he was getting everybody. It was unbelievable.
And I hope you didn't give it to him.
Nope.
Because when a coach gets warned or gets a technical foul, you don't need to explain anything. If you give a technical foul to a player, yeah, I get it. The coach wants to know what happened. You want to give him an explanation. I think that's okay. But when it is on that coach, you know why you got it. Don't play these games about now you don't want to talk to me. We've gotten to the point. I think most officials are pretty slow to a technical foul. So we get to that point, you get a technical foul, you've earned it. And you know you've earned it, and you don't need an explanation. So yeah, those coaches drive me crazy.
I think he chilled after that too, didn't he, Tom?
He was as quiet as a sleeping baby after that. Although he did hold up the second game. It was a freshman A and freshman B game, and he really wanted to talk after that. And I just said, I'll agree to disagree with you, coach. We'll have a talk next time before the game. And I had him 2 days later.
Now I'll tell you what, if I had that game to do all over again, I would have given a technical foul early in the third when I thought that I should have, because for those reasons, almost always, once that coach gets that first technical foul, they calm themselves down because they know second one, right? They're gone. But not only are they gone, even though they're gone for that game and the next game, not even that, they have to answer to their AD. And no coach wants to answer to their AD why they got ejected from a game. So usually if you can get that first technical foul, don't just throw it out there so you can, all right, great, everyone's going to be quiet. But don't put up with too much. So you have to get into that yelling match that I say you can do. Because usually as soon as they go over the line, if you can get them, that'll stop everything. All right.
I would say it's not necessarily about giving a technical foul early, although that is a thing, but just make sure we're doing some sort of, you can't do that. We're not going to be talking to you every time early on. And then maybe doing that a couple of times, then be like, and then once it's, kind of just use every step along the way we have. I've had success that way where like every single break I was saying, coach, knock it off, coach, knock it off, coach, knock it off, warning. And then he complained he didn't get a timeout fast enough. And he was like, I'm signaling over here and you guys aren't listening to me. And I was like, well, we have proper signals so that we can see you. And he's like, I use whatever signals I want. And I was like, okay, well, technical foul, because you're mad at every single thing in the world. And so it's like, and then he apologized afterwards, which obviously we appreciate. So it's like, once we use those steps, it makes it so glaringly obvious who's the one out of line here.
Well, and more importantly, which is why sometimes it gets me into trouble with the, you come at me, I come at you. You have to assert your authority. Sometimes you don't need to give a technical foul or a warning. Sometimes it's the informal coach. I can't listen to you argue every call. I can't do it. It's not going to go well. If you just sometimes take that one little step to say, I'm in charge, you're not those words, but then that sets the tone, and that usually helps alleviate problems as well. But there's those coaches. And again, in this case, the coach was really good about how he spoke. He never really yelled and screamed like a maniac. The things that he said, he didn't say anything that was really technical worthy, but it was the accumulation of over and over and over and over. So that's what leads me to believe that some of these coaches, they intentionally do these things because they know that they're working to get that next call, right? Don't ever let them get that next call.
Yeah, but like you're saying, Josh, you gotta, if that's going on early, like you said yourself, you gotta try to put a stop to that early. Say, coach, we're not doing that tonight. He'll look at you. It's like, we got a job to do. You got a job to do. You're not questioning every call every time we go up and down the floor. I've said that to coaches,
All right, let's
some of them like to do that.
Yes,
they want to critique you instead of coach their team.
Right. And sometimes when you say to them, coach, I'll do the officiating, you do the coaching, it does, or, not so many words, it does adjust their thinking. And then they start coaching their kids, and you see that their kids actually start playing well, because not only are the kids following how the coach acts, right? So if the coach is kind of being a jerk, the kids are kind of being a jerk, they fall apart. They have no direction. They don't know what to do. And so if you can refocus the coach that way.
That's why I've said to him, instead of say you coach your team and I just say, we both got a job to do tonight. I'm going to do my job. You do your job. We're not going up and down every time.
Yeah, you just need to assert your authority and that you're the one,
exactly,
you're the one who's in control.
Exactly.
All right, let's watch this video real quick. I'm just pointing out here, this guy is the head coach, or at least I think he is. What's going on here? Who's the head coach? Who's the assistant coach? Now, again, I'm not suggesting technical foul. You are standing as an assistant coach. I'm not suggesting that, but I am suggesting that this needs to be addressed, because clearly we've got two coaches that want to get up and coach on the floor, and we can't have that. In a situation like this, probably was harmless, probably didn't mean anything, but those kind of things can escalate easily. And then you've got two coaches yelling, or one coach, who's up and shouldn't be and talking to the official. And, we need to know who the head coach is. And that's the only one who can stand and provide instruction. We agree with that?
Yeah.
Good point.
All right.
And that's really something to pregame stress too, when we're introducing ourselves, saying like, which one of you is the head coach? And then, if they're vague, sometimes I ask, okay, which coach is going to be standing up during the game? And just once you get that out there, then it'll,
I would be careful saying that, because it almost sounds like you're inviting for an assistant coach. He can be the one who stands tonight and the head coach can sit. And that's not the rule. If you're an assistant coach, you sit. I don't care if you're the one who's actually running the show, you sit. I want to know who my head coach is. And when I go to my captain's meeting, I make sure I get the head coaches. I want to know who the head coaches are. I don't want them to send an assistant coach my way, because I need to know who's my head coach.
Yeah, Joshua, in pregame, I usually stress respect from the coaches. And again, you have respect for their team. I stress that in my pregame. That's what I do.
Hey, Josh,
Yeah.
quick question. If they send the assistant coach for the pregame and you don't know this, because this has happened to me years ago, then all of a sudden the head coach is standing up. I said, well, you weren't at the pregame meeting. I'm confused. Who's the head coach here? So ultimately, we let the real head coach stand up. But is there a rule that the head coach has to be at that pregame meeting in order to get?
Yes, the rule says it has to be the head coach. Now, I get it if it happens and you're not aware. Fine, it happens. And then you kind of deal with it as you deal with it. But when I am not the referee, I'm either the U1 or the U2. Or if it's a two-person game and you're both going to get a captain from each team, I go to one of the captains. Hey, where is your head coach? Because they're going to tell you, these kids aren't smart enough to be like, yeah, we're really going to be sneaky or right. No, where's your head coach? Even if he's standing right there, if I know it's the head coach, that's one thing, but even if he's standing right there, where's your head coach? Oh, it's right here. Oh, hey, I didn't see you standing there. What? Now you've identified the head coach. If there's another coach standing there for the meeting and they point over in the corner, he's over there, get your head coach over here. I want your head coach over here. Okay. Just those few little words. And it makes a big difference, not only if you have problems in the end, but if you bring the head coach over, you've now established that, again, I'm in control. I get to decide what's going on here. You don't get to send your assistant coach over here and think that it's okay. You're not running the show. I'm running it. Right? We don't need to say those words, but just by making sure that they come and have them, that is what is kind of being implied. All right, I want to show this. I think it's kind of funny. We've already seen a clip from this game. And for many of you, when you work, if you've worked long enough, you get to know coaches, right? Not necessarily on a personal nature, but you know who they are. You've had them several times over the years. They, for the most part, respect that you can call a game, even though they don't agree or even are happy with you all game. But, in the end, we all respect each other. I try to give that kind of honor, is that the word I want to use, to these coaches. All right? Hey, we're people. We like each other, at least for now. Now, I'm not sure it's a good thing to go more than a handshake. This was in my crew. This was the joke of the night. They said, wow, you gave the coach a bro hug. I said, yeah, I guess I did. Right? Good to see you, Josh. Oh yeah, great to see you. I tried a bro hug here. It's not like I just did it to one and he didn't come in and give it to me. Now, does that one coach see him like, oh man, are they buddies over there? And the other coach, I don't know. So probably refrain from doing those kind of things because we don't know what the other coach thinks. That other coach may say, wow, I know that they know each other, but I didn't know they were going to, now it's going to be a long game and it's all over for our team. We don't even have a chance. Like, don't set the tone early on because you're being a nice guy. And that's all I was doing, but I think it set the wrong tone. Maybe it didn't, but could have. And so we try to avoid it. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
I want everyone to like me, but
I would just say equally positive interaction with both coaches. I try to find, whatever you can find to talk about. Super Bowl, the shoes I have on, the season they've been having, just anything equally with both.
When you get there, everybody likes you. When you leave, only half people.
If you do go to a coach and have a conversation, even if it's about the upcoming Super Bowl and you put some bets down, or I don't know, give the same amount of time and attention to the other coach. You don't have to talk about the Super Bowl or the same thing you talked about, but if you gave one coach 2 minutes, give the other coach 2 minutes if he wants it. I mean, go over there and offer to him. If he cuts it short because he doesn't want to talk, that's one thing, but make sure that you do that if you're going to. But I wouldn't give him more than 2 minutes, because longer than that, one, starts to look biased, so to speak. But two, you don't need to be wasting your time talking with coaches. That's not your job. That's not why you're there, right? I think it's nice. I think it helps build a relationship and what's the word I'm looking for? Rapport, but keep it short and sweet. All right, let's play this one again.
Number 30, Mitch Erickson. That's his third, team's 7. At the line.
Now, this is another game where the coach who's complaining now was incessantly complaining. Just non-stop complaining. Nothing over the top, nothing even close to being considered a technical foul, but it was always something. However, with that said, and as you can see, it's in the fourth quarter with 4 minutes to go. It's a 58-9 1-point game. It's a close game. Just because he's constantly complaining doesn't mean you should just ignore the coach either. You could, if it gets to a certain level, but as long as they are being respectable, we can still give them a little bit of time, especially in a situation like this where there's a free throw going on. You're not doing anything else. He's not taking your attention away. You can go over and continue to give him your ear. Now, if they're at the point where it's so much, it's gotten you in your head up to here, right? I just can't handle anymore. That's one thing. But if it's just boy, this guy doesn't shut up, and oh, here he's going to say something again, but it's not really raising your level. Go over there, continue. You're managing the game. It's a great game. You don't want really to affect the kids because the coach is a jerk. Although if he's a jerk, it's going to affect it. I get that. But if he's not really rising to that level, I think you are better off to still go over and try and give him a little bit of an ear. And as we all know, or at least I think most of us know, when we go over there, we already know whatever he's going to say to me is not going to change anything that I say. It's not going to change the way I ref, especially not with 4 minutes to go in the game. So if it helps him stay calm so we don't have to give him a technical foul, I say it's a small effort to keep it at that level. Does that make sense? We can't find ourselves so sensitive. And again, I know I'm talking about incessant, but where we just shut them down right away and that's it. And I don't want to do it because coaches don't like that either. Most of these coaches that are jerks kind of know that they are. Most of them, someone was saying that they apologized after. Most of them try to apologize their way out of it. And I don't really like that either. I'm glad that they apologize, but it's basically, I'm sorry for being such a jerk, but but what? You were a jerk anyway. So, stop being a jerk. But at least to me, they're recognizing that they're a jerk. So I guess that's step number one. My point is, they're a jerk. They know they're a jerk. Let's just get through the game and we can all move along. Does that make sense? Now, again, I get it. Levels rise at different things for different people. And sometimes the same person, it rose for the same thing. Maybe another game, it didn't rise for that same thing. It all, everything's situational. But the more we can lend an ear and just let the coach complain, even though we know all they're doing is complaining, I think the better it is for the game. Anyone disagree?
No, I agree, because even when we have those coaches meetings, the coaches' main complaints are referees are inconsistent and they don't listen to us. You know what I mean? That's what they say. So
yeah, we've had a lot of here in Illinois. We have some association meetings, and we've brought coaches and have coaches panels, and
right.
Many of them are actually even the ones that are jerks. Those are the ones I usually call into my meeting and say, "Hey, will you come to a meeting?" Because I want people to see that most coaches are people. Yes, they have a reputation of not being a nice person on the court, but they're people too. and they're just got a different perspective than we do because they're fighting for their team or but they're just
Well,
as
a
much.
lot of what people don't know too, a lot of these guys are under tons of pressure to win. And if they don't win tonight, sometimes they get their ass fired. They're under a lot of pressure every to win every freaking game. So
well, and some coaches have said how sometimes they're doing more than coaching. They're managing their kids. They've
Right.
got kids that have troubled issues. And sometimes it's less about coaching basketball and more about making the kids feel like they've got a team, which is a home, which is a family. So I get all that. And we
Right.
need to be aware of those situations because sometimes the coach yells and he's not even really yelling at you. I had a coach tell me once, hey, I don't understand what you just called there, but I get what's going on. I get what you're doing. These parents are crazy. They don't get it. So when the game's over, you got to get off this court. Right? He yelled and screamed a lot of the game, but really in a moment of, calm, he's just like, look, I get what's going on here. And, we appreciate you for the most part. And we don't want you to get hurt. And just knowing some of that. Or maybe he was just feeding us a line. I don't know. He's trying to get the next goal.
That's a good point about understanding the why of what's going on. Because, when a team's getting blown out, and he's grasping for anything, it's like, just kind of be like, just keep yourself out of trouble, man. I don't want to have to do anything here.
Right.
Just,
especially in a game that's lopsided, where a technical foul is not going to do anything but just inflame what's already going on. And sometimes you can't avoid it, but if you can and just get through the game, again, you're usually better off for it. Let me show one more code. Go ahead.
One of the biggest things I've realized, even tonight, is that these coaches, they have to set up a persona. So yeah, they may not be yelling at you, but the parents want to see that they're fighting for their kid as well. So it's a persona. It's nothing against anybody out there.
And many times,
I
don't know if you've heard coaches say how, I would not want to be an official. You guys have a hard job. I always say it's easy for me to be an official. It's hard to be a coach. You have to listen to the parents all season long. I have to do it one game of the night and I can go home. Right. And sometimes they're yelling and screaming at you because they know Johnny's dad is going to be all over me because I didn't stand up for Johnny because he got fouled. And why don't you fight for your kids? Right. There's a whole different aspect that sometimes comes into play.
Right.
Yep.
I tell people we get to leave the parents in the gym.
Yeah, well, that's true. All right, here's this game again. These are all from this year, and I I took my problem coach games and tried to get a few things, but here's the context again of this game. This coach was incessantly complaining about everything. We couldn't do anything right. Obviously, I was always for his team. So we have a play. He thinks his kid gets fouled, right? He's yelling, kind of screaming, how is that not a foul? And, then we got a timeout. Timeout is called. Watch the coach from the red team, or the black players, but wearing the red on the bench. It walks all the way. He's not worried about his timeout. He wants to do what?
Wants to talk.
Did you see what the official calling the timeout did? All right, he reports. He's too close to the table, in my opinion, but he reports the timeout. Got it? Points, ready, 30, go, and he just walks away. Doesn't even look in his direction because he knows this guy just wants to complain. Nothing good is going to happen if I go over there and talk to him. Let's just get together over here away from the coach and we don't have to deal with it. Right? Sometimes, and I know I just said, go give him an ear. Sometimes you just have to ignore him because he's just going to go. And if you go over there, then it's going to escalate to something. So just walk away, gather with your crew. Right? The official's manual says you're supposed to stand in those spots for the timeout. I say, don't. right? Only stand in those spots if you've got nothing to do, then look official. But almost every time out in my games, I'm talking with my crew about something. Hey, 24, I don't know if you saw, he's getting a little handsy, right? Let's keep an eye on 24 or something. And then you know, and then maybe you go back to your spot or you stay there to the end of the timeout, but you don't have to go and stand in your spots because that's what the book says. Use that dead time to communicate with your partners so you're ready for the next thing that happens. And that goes along with coaches. Hey, this coach just said to me that kid got fouled. Did you guys see a foul on that? I thought it was a good block. Oh yeah, I saw. And then, you know, if you saw something, you can say something. You could validate and agree. But those are good times because everybody's mind is fresh to the play. If you wait until halftime or at the end of the game to have those conversations, you may not get a good response because, oh, wait, what are you talking about? And can you remember? So use those times to communicate as a crew. And then, you know, any pertinent information with the coach, share right then and there. Like I said with the before, did you just give him a warning? That's when you want to do it at a dead time right there. You know, I didn't give him a warning, or yes, I did, or whatever it may be.
I'm really appreciative of you talking about conferencing during those timeouts. That is just so invaluable. Not enough people take advantage of that. I constantly am saying, you know, what do we think of this call? Boy, we've done a lot of that. Or, you know, oh, we haven't had a hand check. Don't try not to call it, or, you know, try not to put it in the game late or something like that. So, you know, just that is, you're preaching to the choir for me there.
It keeps
Josh, off the subject of I for a second. I want to ask before this is over with tonight. I don't want to forget. I'm seeing more and more at pregame, the players, when they're warming up, to wearing their, what do you call earpods in their ears?
Those earbuds. And I have gone and said, get them out. And some guys have said, yes, you have to make sure they get them out. And some say, no, that's okay. Are you talking about the wireless ones or the wired ones, or regardless?
The wireless.
Yeah, what are those called? AirPods, I think.
AirPods, whatever it is. So I've heard both sides. What is the proper thing about that?
All right.
Tell the coach.
All right. The rule is very clear. And I know the IHSA here in Illinois is very clear. They are not allowed to have those in warmups. It's not technically jewelry, but they're not supposed to have any of that stuff on while they're warming up. So especially when postseason comes up, you might want to say, someone said, I don't know, to the head coach, hey, coach, the IHSA is kind of honest about this. Yeah. Those kids can't be having those things in their ears while they're warming up. There's a lot of rules we think are stupid, but that doesn't matter. They're the rule, and we are expected to uphold them. So go to the coach, and the coach is also expected to uphold them. He has to then go to his players. I would refrain going to a kid saying, hey, you got to take those out. Why? Just go to the coach. Now it's his problem. You've dealt with it. You've handled it. Okay.
Well, I don't talk to the players. I don't want to get myself in trouble.
And just know that you are supported by the rule and by your state association to enforce that. Don't feel like you're all on your own. I know I said it's kind of like a cop-out, but hey, the IHSA requires that they can't wear them. Enough said. All right, let me play one more coach's video, and then I got a bonus clip that I want to play. Standard foul report, getting ready for the throw-in. But what do I want to point out? Well, what are we talking about? Coaches, right?
Yeah.
Look how far the coach is on the floor.
He just walked right onto the floor.
As soon as that whistle was blown, he is out on the floor.
Josh, this guy's on the floor every game. I've had him many times.
Yes. Now, my point to this is, by rule, that's a technical foul because he's out of his coach's box, right? By rule. But what is he doing?
Let's talk to his players.
He's just coaching his kids. He's doing it relatively calmly. He's not causing any scene. He's not out there when the ball's in play. Nothing's going on. Just let him be.
Well,
right?
Josh, this guy in particular will do this. And also, as you're next to him, say something to the officials too. He's notorious for that.
So if you've got a coach that comes out and then maybe makes a comment as he's walking back. Okay, do you need to address the comment? I'm not going to worry about him being on his box out there. I'm not looking for that stuff. If he's a jerk all game and I said, stay in your box, then yeah, I might come in and stick him because I've already been telling him. My point is, just because they come out of their box onto the floor is not a, oh, I'm going to get this guy, or now he's on my radar, right? A lot of times coaches, even during live play, coaches are on the floor, right? Because those chairs are so close to the sidelines. We can't go with binoculars or microscopes or whatever you want to say, looking for something to get on this coach. We have to be watching the game, right? Everything is situational, and that situation didn't warrant probably even the bat of an eye.
It's just that coach has a certain personality that gets everyone worked up.
Well, that might be true. But I'll say this, since we're speaking specifically of that coach, I have yet to have a problem with him. Has he gotten a little excited at times? Sure. But I think sometimes, not always, I think sometimes the problems that happen are because we as officials don't manage the coach well enough. We let that coach get to the point where now it's a big, huge deal. If we're able to handle it before it gets to that point, it sometimes evens itself out. Now, again, there's always exceptions and things that has nothing to do with anything. But I think generally speaking, it kind of falls on us. Doesn't mean it's our fault, but we are the gatekeepers of the game. We are the gatekeepers of the coach. We allow a coach either to do something or not do something. And if you wait too long, like in that one game that I was saying, to give a technical foul, then it gets out of control. And then as an official, you're now frazzled because you let him get to you. If you had handled it earlier, whether it's a comment or a warning or a technical foul, then it doesn't get to that level. That makes sense? And some coaches just like some, and some coaches just don't like others. That always falls in there too. But let's talk about that for just a moment.
Well, can I follow
Yes.
up a little bit?
Yeah.
So you have a coach is high maintenance. How do you try to keep him at a simmer? Like, how's the pregame go? What are some of the tips and tricks during the game with a high maintenance coach?
This coach is what I usually say. This coach can get excitable. He can get emotional. He can have his outbursts, however you want to put it. Let's try to make sure that doesn't happen tonight. Just that alone saying, everyone's like, oh, and now you go into it with an awareness that something can happen and maybe we can squash it early and not be surprised by something happening. Or, hey, I had this guy last week or last month. I had to give him a technical foul. I don't know if it's going to continue on. Just know that we have this little history. Maybe that means that you try and stay opposite. Maybe that means I was supposed to be the referee on the game. Can I just be the U1 today? So I don't have to speak to him. Let's just, keep our touches as little as possible. Little things like that. The crew is aware. The crew can handle it. Sometimes that's where your warning comes in, right? If he's yelling at you, maybe your partner comes in to handle it because you don't want to be the guy who tees him up every game. Sometimes it's unavoidable, but
I think it's okay too you said, that coach that was out on the floor and and it's during a dead ball, but I think it's okay to say to the coach, like, Coach, I know it's a dead ball and you're cheering your players, but don't come on the court. You're too far on the court. Help us out tonight. And they know what you're talking about.
You can totally address the coach.
Right.
Maybe, on that clip, I'll see if I can pull it up.
Right.
Maybe,
Josh, can you watch the lead? In football, we're told watch the dead ball play. It matters. This guy's more concerned about getting the ball.
Yeah.
Okay, but what else does he have to be concerned about? This crew is not worried about this coach. They know he has a reputation. He's doing nothing to earn his reputation. He's not worried about him coming out yelling or screaming, right? He needs the ball to throw it in. I think that's okay. I do think, to Tim's point, he could walk out here and say, Coach, can you just try and stay in your box? You came out really far, and I don't want it to look like we're letting you do whatever you want. I think that's okay.
The trail could say something too. The trail was right there, right?
Well, the trail was reporting the foul.
Well, okay. I got it.
And the center's not going to come over. If the center does,
No,
the
no,
center's,
that's
you know,
no, the center's
interjecting
not gonna
himself
come
when he
over.
shouldn't. But so, yeah, again, it's not a ignore it or get it, or you got to read the situation. You got to, every situation is different in every moment in time.
Exactly.
And you want it, what you're trying to do is make sure everyone stays as even keeled as possible. I think. So that coach was doing nothing, was not interfering. I'm probably letting it go because we're at even keel right now. Does that make sense? Mark asked in the chat, what about coaches coming into your dressing area before, after the game?
Yeah.
It doesn't happen a lot, but especially in those times where you're, say, in the coach's area to change, that's where they take you. Most coaches, if they do come in while you're in there, oh, I'm sorry, I just need to grab this or whatever. If they're just there because it's their space and they're getting their stuff, fine. I'm not going to make a deal about it. And I've sat in some where that's what they're trying to do. And the official's like, no, you can't come in here. This is our space. And that's true. But again, what is his purpose? Is he there to make a comment at you, or is he really just there to get his stuff? So I'm not saying it's great that we're putting coaches' offices to change, but sometimes it happens. If it is a good space where you're by yourself and they lock it up and no one's allowed in there, don't let a coach come in. I've heard of times where coaches they go knocking on the door even, and they're yelling and screaming, and coach, they open the door, and don't, just ignore them. You don't want to get into a shouting match, especially after the game, after the coach just lost, because that's not going to go well for anybody. And then you're going to have to fill out reports or call the assigner, or the IHS says it, right? So just ignore it, put it behind you, and they're not even there. If you've got to get security involved because it rises to that level, then you can get security, but usually it doesn't rise to that level.
Hey, Josh, I got a situation. I got a question for you. First of all, I don't know if you know Fred. Fred's 89, and
I don't.
We did okay, and we did York High School in Libertyville, right? So both coaches are getting on me because, again, Fred's 89. Fred can't really. I asked Fred before we started. I asked me, was he okay? How's he doing? Doing timeouts, but it's hard for him to get up and down the floor. But he did the best he could, But it's like every call, the coaches were coming at me and say, "Hey, you got to help Fred out. You got to help Fred out." And I was doing the best I could. I really, So, I mean, what do you do as a partner? Did you guys I'm asking all you other guys, did you guys ever encounter something like that during the season? Please let me know.
So Derek, just because he's 89, I mean, that might be where some of it's coming from, but I've worked with guys that are in their 30s and the coaches says, you got to help them out, right? That's what some coaches just say because they're trying to get that call. In a situation of yours, say, where you really think that, yeah, he's struggling, you can just say, Coach, I'm going to do the best I can for you. I can't get everything.
Right.
If it happens right in front of him, I'm still going to trust that he can see and he's going to get it. And, we'll do the best that we can, but it is what it is. You don't have to lie. You don't have to sugarcoat. You don't have to throw him under the bus, but you can kind of appease a little like, Coach, I get it. This is what we've got tonight. Let's just do what we can and do the best that, where we got.
No, I had his back. I didn't, throw any Fred under the bus, but I was just concerned about his mobility and getting up and down the floor pretty much.
So you might, and in situations like that, you may have to increase your coverage area to maybe help out because you see that he's not moving well or not as fast and you might have to make a call that's not in your area normally, but because nobody's there to watch it and you can get it, that's fine.
Yeah, pretty much.
And I'm not suggesting that you sold him out, but
no,
there are some guys out there that'll say, Coach, I know he's old. I'll call the whole court. Don't worry. Don't say those things because that shows that you're a terrible person. And now that coach isn't going to like you either because, wow, you sold your partner out that quick.
No, never that. I've always had his back during that game. I always asked him, how's he doing? What was he looking at? Did he see that? And I try to always be encourageable.
You guys ready for my bonus clip?
Yeah.
All right, bonus clip. Last second shot. All right. It's a 3-point attempt. Last second shot. Buzzer goes off. What is the procedure? This official came in, counted with the 3-point successful, and then count the bucket signal. Is that correct? Or is it the other way around? Does anybody know? Do you count the bucket first and then give the 3-point signal? Who's got an opinion?
That's a good
I
one.
have an opinion on this. There's a guy out of New York, Paul Diaspara, that said that the proper way to do it, you signal the 3 just like you would if it was not an end of game or end of quarter situation. Then you give the buckets good because it was good at the end of the quarter.
Why do you have to give the buckets good?
Okay, so
Once you signal that this is the signal for being good, why do you have to let them know it's good?
Because you're letting them know that they got it off in time.
You know what? That's actually a great point, George.
That's a
no
great-
one's
that's a
brought
good-
that up till this point. That is a
Right.
great point. Because if it's a 2-point shot and you do nothing, you got to signal something to say it's good, right?
Right.
Or a
right.
3-pointer, what does this mean?
Good.
That means it's good.
3-point field goal is successful.
Yes.
Now, I'm not saying that's right or that's wrong. I'm saying that's a great point. Like, okay, then that should be all you have to do.
That's
Right?
it.
Because that's what you're saying. Anybody
Well,
agree?
that's-
Disagree?
I
Right,
agree
but
with
you also
that.
want to let everyone in the gym know that you got it off on time.
So I looked this up in the official's manual. I couldn't find it anywhere that there's a procedure for this. But this is my take. You go up, you have the 3, right? 3-point. The buzzer goes off, the shot's in the air. I count it with my finger, letting everyone know the bucket was off in time and it went through and we're good. And then I signal it's worth 3 points. That's what I do. Because this is what I'm thinking. If I call a foul, got a 3-point, foul, and the ball goes in and you count it, I go to the table and I say, bucket is good, 3-point shot. And then I report the foul. Why would it be different for end of the quarter?
Why would you drop your hand when you already have it up in the air?
Right.
Why would I drop what do you mean, the count it?
Yeah, why?
You're signaling 3 already.
So I go 3-point up, and then there's a
Yeah.
foul. So now it's, okay, so 3-point up, and then there's a foul. So I go fist up because I got
Right.
a foul. And
Yeah.
then after I blew my whistle for the foul, the ball goes in. So I'm counting the bucket as we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And then you
So
got
then
a
when I go to
possible.
the table, I say, as we're supposed to do, bucket counts, right? 3 points.
Right, but end of game, you don't have a foul, so your hand's already up in a 3-point stance. All you have to do is raise your other hand, and there you go. It counts.
And you don't have to do this.
Correct.
Now, again, I don't know who
Wait-
said that,
wait,
but this is the
wait,
first time I've
look.
heard that argument. And I like that argument.
I look at it, that is wasted motion.
Yes, but here's the other side of that. You don't get everyone to look at you and look cool. Right? I mean, counting the bucket on oh yeah, that guy, he's on top of it. I just saw that. I clipped it. I thought that's interesting because there's not really any procedure. Everyone does it a little differently. Isn't there a right or a wrong? And I don't think there is a right or wrong, at least not written in the manual. But I just wondered what you guys thought. So kind of interesting. All right. I want to share the training schedule for next month, which is March 16, third Thursday of the month again. And we're talking about free throws. I know it's not as fun as coaching or some of the other stuff we talk about, but free throws, what do we do on free throws? This might be a good one. If I can find that, Dave, foul at the end of the game. And how do we handle that on a tied game? Maybe I can prepare something to cover that, because we want to make sure when we have free throws, we handle it correctly. We want to sure that everything in the lane is right. If there's a violation, a delayed violation, or if it's not a delayed violation, if someone drew someone else in who gets penalized. So those kinds of things. So hopefully you can make it next month. All right, we're going to go.
All right. Have a good
All
night.
right.
Thanks for coming on, guys.
Thank
We'll
you.
see you next month.
See you later. Thank you.